To all of you that were expecting me to come on here and say, you know what, I was wrong about this past Sunday. No, I wasn't. Lockdown as a show was still boo-boo. If I can accept it, I would hope some of you could too, but I'm not surprised that some of you cannot. However, let's move past that and talk about this week's Impact. Now, it's kind of ironic. It happens with the WWE. It happens with TNA sometimes. It feels like the show that I actually paid for on the previous Sunday should have been free, and the show that comes after the Sunday pay-per-view should have been the one that I paid for. And that's exactly how I felt about Impact this week. Right? Some small things that still bother me a bit about it, but a much better show than I feel like I got from Lockdown. That's for damn sure. Thankfully, the power struggle is over. The reign of terror of Dixie Carter's television character, hopefully, is also over. Thank God. I'm okay with MVP being the authority figure because at least MVP is not anywhere near as annoying as a Dixie Carter. And Dixie Carter is just annoying, not annoying in the type of way that is necessarily good, just dumb and annoying. I guess I'm down with the whole thing that MVP said at the beginning of the show, talking about his era is going to be about, motivation and validation and participation, and that's all fine and good. But when Magnus came out, it's just the explanation he gave for why Abyss is with him was dumb. Abyss is dumb. His fucking mask is dumb. Are we supposed to forget that just this past Sunday at Lockdown, it was Joseph Park in Abyss gear, and now he's got another fucking mask on? Something that looks like a hybrid of a Kane and Mankind cheap knockoff. Abyss is stupid. I'm sorry. And the match between Samoa Joe and Abyss, it's whatever, because it's setting up Eric Young versus Abyss, which to me is still stupid. I remember when Eric Young used to be so much fun for me. And I remember when Eric Young used to be one of my favorite characters in all of professional wrestling. He was the TNA equivalent of a Santino Marella, and Eric Young brought something fresh and fun to the table. This serious Eric Young feuding with freaking Abyss? Nah. One thing that was really awesome about Impact this week, we get a new knockout, Brittany. I don't know her backstory, and I don't even care. I don't even care. It's a new knockout. It's a new face. That in and of itself is great. She comes and she faces Gail Kim. And the way this is done is great. It's her debut match, and she fucking beats Gail Kim. So maybe it's actually a reason to continue to feature of Brittany in the future. Genius. And then what happens between Gail Kim and Lady Tapa, setting up a feud between the two of them, something different. Everything about this to me was good and fine. Very refreshing. Now let's get some more knockouts into this knockout division. It really, really needs it. But this was really good here. You establish a new knockout and you start a new feud. And maybe potentially setting up down the road another feud. Well done by TNA. Well done. The Bromans are incredibly stupid tag team champions. The quicker they get these belts off of these worthless jobbers, the better, in my opinion. And you look at your X-Division champion Sonata and Tigre Uno, you almost I wonder if Sonata and Tigre Uno are being miscast here a little bit, because you really have something with these two guys as a tag team. This is the type of athletic, aggressive, progressive type of tag team that I feel TNA should be featuring more. Not so much the stupid fucking bromance. And this tag match here was really good because Sonata and Tigre Uno really shined here, and they really had some good tag team maneuvers. They were really exciting. Tag team. That's what tag team wrestling should be. It should have teams like that are high tempo. They are upbeat. They are exciting to watch. And these two guys were exciting. I hope TNA actually keeps them together as a tag team. I'd rather see them as a tag team than as just two X Division guys that aren't going to get featured on television. One positive thing that comes out of the Dixie Carter character being on television for the past several months, running the show, so to speak, is the fact that you got the launches of EC3 and Rockstar Spud. And these guys are gold to me. And you put them in a big spot here. You put them in that 1 hour main event slot, expecting them to deliver. And at least for my entertainment purposes, they clearly did. Hashtag thank you, Dixie, for this if you must. Rockstar Spud was incredible. Ethan Carter III was Ethan Carter III. Nothing could bring me down in this segment, even when MVP comes out. And he's asking Rockstar Spud what he's doing. And he's reminding him that he's a wrestler now and that he's got to wrestle somebody. And Rockstar Spud says, I'm smaller in some of the knockouts. His fake crying was outstanding. And then, of course, here comes Bobby Lashley, the Battletoad-looking motherfucker. And I'll say this. I guess I'm a little interested to see what Bobby Lashley and Ethan Carter III could do next week. At least Bobby Lashley looks like he's still in tremendous shape, so that's a positive. But, one thing that bothered me a little bit about the show is it seemed like they were setting up to next week's Impact a lot. I think it was Samoa Joe and Magnus is going to be next week for the title. And then you've also got this match here is going to be next week for the title. It just seems like they're maybe almost putting too much into an Impact as opposed to focusing on a bigger featured show or a pay-per-view. But I'll give TNA the benefit of the doubt. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove to me that you're going to have Ethan Carter III go over Bobby Lashley. But I don't believe you will. I'm actually a fan of the hashtag creepy bastard Samuel Shaw character. What I am not a fan of, apparently, is any match involving him and Mr. Anderson. If their cage match wasn't bad enough at Lockdown this past Sunday, this street fight here that lasted, 2 or 3 minutes that seemed incredibly pointless only to have Anderson fucking win, this was really dumb and bad too. The quicker they could get Samuel Shaw and Mr. Anderson away from each other, the better in my book. Who in the fuck has a street fight that goes like 3 minutes on television? That's the type of TNA shit you used to get when somebody else was booking the show. Many of you know I'm a big fan of Kenny King. Many of you also know that Smokey was an incredibly big fan of Kenny King. Lord rest his soul. So it pleases me greatly to see these Vegas-themed vignettes of hashtag King of the Night. Well, Kenny King, the sooner you get back, the better as far as I'm concerned, brother. At this point in time, the Knockouts division could use whatever faces they could possibly get their hands on. New faces, faces from the past, whatever the case might be. I'm not a big Angelina Love fan, but sure, I guess it's great to see her back in the fold for TNA, because at least if anything else, it's another potential knockout. If you could add some other new fresh faces to it, it could add some intrigue and possibilities here. But where the Brittany and Gail Kim segment and match was really good to me because it did several things and accomplished several different things, Angelina Love's return really didn't accomplish much of anything to me. You got Madison Rayne and Velvet Sky talking backstage, and Madison breaks the news that Angelina Love's back, and Velvet's like, huh? And then even though you like seeing Velvet maybe in her shirt because of her big titties, Angelina Love's out there talking. Then here comes Velvet Sky, and it's like, well, either A, they're putting back together the beautiful people, which we've seen before, or B, they're going to have the beautiful people feud with each other, which we've seen before. Either way, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here. I don't know if I really frankly care. The most awkward thing of all was how this segment was going, and then you get to what should have maybe been a climactic moment, and then the segment just cut away to something else incredibly awkwardly. I'm really confused now. Is it supposed to be Willow, or is it supposed to be Jeff Hardy dressed up in something different? What happened to hashtag K-Fob or K-Fabe here? TNA? Taz? Come on now. I mean, you're sitting there, and this is the whole thing, with Sunday. Jeff Hardy's banned, so here comes Willow instead. We've got a plan to get around it. But now we're right here on Impact, and we're referring to Willow as Jeff Hardy. I think most everybody watching could probably actually figure out, whether they pay a lot of attention to this shit or not, that Willow is fucking Jeff Hardy. So maybe keep up the illusion that this is somebody different. Maybe keep up the illusion that this is somebody different. And you just didn't do it. You just totally said, fuck it doesn't matter. At least I will say the Willow personality has a different edge to him than the Jeff Hardy character. And he's getting his revenge on Rockstar Spud here. He actually got disqualified, Willow did, for going over the line. And then he sits there and, lands on the chair, which he's wrapped around Rockstar Spud's ankle. So at least I could say, in theory, that they are doing a little bit something different with Jeff Hardy. But at this point, if you're not going to keep calling him Willow and you're just going to refer to him as Jeff Hardy, then stop calling him Willow and just start calling him Jeff Hardy. And why do all the fucking vignettes calling him Willow? Somebody's in the very good graces of Dixie Carter and TNA as a whole. Because somebody is getting the old Jeff Jarrett treatment. And on this week's show, it was Bully Ray. You know, you're setting it up early in the night. Where's Bully Ray? There's Jerry B. Borash. I'm waiting for Bully Ray to come, and here comes Angelina Love, but I'm still waiting for Bully Ray. And then Bully Ray shows up, and he gets beaten down by the Bromans and EC3 and freaking Bobby Roode, excuse me. So now he's going to sit there throughout the course of the night, and he's going to get his revenge, and he's going to get his justice. He's going to take out the Bromans and DJ Zima. He's going to take out Ethan Carter III. And then here at the end of the night, oh, how triumphant it is. He's going to come out, and he's going to call out Bobby Roode. Of course, again, I don't feel like I got an incredibly good explanation why all of a sudden Bully Ray goes from heel and a despicable type of heel to a warm and fuzzy babyface all of a sudden. Now, this could be an example of TNA trying to press the reset button on his character, and that's fine. You know what? At some point in time, why not just do that? But, you know, if this is leading to another big push for Bully Ray, I'll take a pass. Don't be featuring Bully Ray in any more big spots. You did that for over a year. It was called the Aces and Eights. And how'd that work out for you, TNA? Egg fucking exactly. I have no problem with the Bully Ray having a spot on the TNA roster, having a spot on television. But when you feature him as one of the biggest deals in the company, then yes, I have a problem with that. He was featured as a much more important person than, let's say, a Magnus or a Samoa Joe this week. Gunner and Storm, I don't even think were on the damn show this week. Bully Ray should not be featured at the expense of all these other people. This is fucking ridiculous. This is the type of shit that TNA's always done. Is when in doubt, go with the old fucks. That's exactly what it felt like to hear to me, and I'm sorry, that's exactly what it did. You can sit there and say it made for good television with him and Roode, and if him and Roode have a feud, I guess that's fine. As long as Roode ultimately goes over, I'm okay with that. I suppose. At least it's not Bully Ray versus Mr. Anderson. You know, I'm thankful for that. But like I said, if this was just them saying, no, you know what, where we were going with him was stupid, the whole thing was stupid, let's just reset and go in a completely different direction, then fine. I could deal with that. I won't even knock you for the inconsistencies anymore because what you were doing with Bully Ray was fucking stupid. It just was. And like I said, if this is an example of hitting the reset button, well then reset away. Just don't do it at the expense of so many others where you make Bully Ray feel like he's the most important part of the show, no matter what he's involved in or not involved in. And as a result, you, by and large, give him the Jeff Jarrett treatment. Exactly. So even though I had some problems with the show, it felt like they were focusing so much on next week's Impact, which you might sit there and say, well, isn't that a good thing, Schleg Daddy? They're pushing next week's show. Yeah, that's a good thing. They are pushing next week's show on the previous week's show. That's fine, but it felt like they were emphasizing it in such a way to make it feel like it was a pay-per-view, even though it's not. The fact that Bully Ray was such a big focus of the show, again, not a huge fan of that. But you got some stuff going on in the Knockouts division. I like that. EC3, Rockstar Spud. I like that a lot. Kenny King's closer to coming back. I like that a lot. You know, Samoa Joe's still being featured in a big spot. I'm okay with that. At least Willow is doing something different than a Jeff Hardy would, and I'm okay with that. Even though they need to start either calling him Jeff Hardy and getting rid of the Willow shit, or calling him Willow and stop calling him Jeff Hardy. I do feel like overall this week's Impact was much more fun for me to watch than Lockdown 2014 was. I'd have been much more satisfied and pleased with paying pay-per-view price for this week's Impact than I was for actually paying for Lockdown 2014. It's not a good thing, but at least I felt like in general Impact this week paid off pretty well.